So hello and good afternoon or good morning for some folks. And welcome to our webinar for the NASA's Mars 2020 Name the Rover contest. So I am Stephanie Johnson. Hold on. And I work at Battelle. And Battelle is the world's largest nonprofit research and development organization. So that means we solve some of the world's toughest problems and some of the world's maybe funnest problems, like the candy coating on M&Ms and what else, Rob? What other fun things have we created?
I mean, the Xerox machine is so fun.
Yes.
With the educators in the audience, I'm sure people have spent many, many hours being entertained
by Xerox. We also create the flu vaccine and lots of things that we do not know about. So my name is Stephanie Johnson, and I work on our education and philanthropy team at Battelle, and am super excited that we get a chance to be part of this contest. And we're very excited that we're going to share some information with you about the contest. And I'm going to introduce you to Tanya Silva from Future Engineers, and she's going to introduce herself. Go ahead, Tanya.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tanya Silva. I'm from Future Engineers. Future Engineers is a K-12 online educational crowdsourcing platform. And you're probably wondering, what on earth is that? So I'm here to tell you, our website actually hosts free K-12 STEM challenges for students. And our website right now is hosting the NASA Mars 2020 Name the Rover contest in partnership with Battelle. And we recently just wrapped up, we have some exciting news. We recently wrapped up an SCR Phase 2 grant with the U.S. Department of Education. And one of the learning outcomes of the research was that our website gets one specific demographic really excited about STEM, and that's girls. So we thank you all for joining us today, and we're excited to tell you all about this challenge, and we're also very excited to be partnering with Battelle and NASA for this incredible challenge.
Thank you, Tanya. And I forgot to add about Battelle, so you're probably wondering why Battelle is interested in this, but Battelle, we feel very strongly that STEM education is great education and that all kids should have access to it. So our team does a lot of work in STEM education in Ohio and Tennessee and across the country. So this was a really good, fun fit for us. So today we have just a few quick learning goals for the webinar, and those are to learn about the contest, including how to submit entries, learn how to access and preview contest educational resources, learn how to register as a teacher and or student, and use the teacher dashboard, and learn how to engage as a contest judge. So I will add just quickly that if you have questions, we're going to save them till the end, but if you think of a question during the presentation and you want to get it out of your head, you can go ahead and type it in the chat box, and we will answer those questions at the end. So go ahead and start typing in the chat box if you have questions. All right, so what is in a name? This is not the first contest that NASA has conducted to name their rovers. So in 1997, that was the first rover that was named, and that was by a student named Valerie Ambroise, who was a 12-year-old from Connecticut, and she wanted to honor the 19th century abolitionist and activist Sojourner Truth. In 2004, Arizona's third grader Sophie Collis won the contest to name the twin rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, which landed on Mars 3 weeks apart in January 2004. And then in 2012, Kansas sixth grader Clara Ma submitted the name Curiosity for the car-sized rover that has been exploring Mars, Mars's huge crater, since August 2012. And now we have the 2020 rover, which is a question mark beside it, because that is what we are here for today, and we hope one of your students will have their name up on this slide next time. Just a couple of really quick contest details. We're going to go into a lot more detail about the contest later, but the contest is open to individual K-12 students in U.S. public and private schools and homeschoolers, as well as legal residents, and this includes U.S. territories and schools operated by the U.S. for Children of American personnel overseas. There are no team entries allowed, so these are all individual entries. Children and students who live in the same household with anyone from NASA, Battelle, Education, JPL, or Caltech employees cannot enter. And there will be 3 grade bands for the contest, so K through 4th, 5th through 8th, and 9th through 12th. And for the actual entry, the maximum number of characters allowed for the rover name is 50 characters, and then 150-word maximum for the essay. So we're going to watch a really quick video about the rover.
NASA's next Mars rover is in development and has an ambitious mission. Decades of Mars research from previous spacecraft have shown the planet not only had water in the ancient past, but had environments that could have supported life. Mars.
We're a little... There we go.
NASA's next Mars rover is in development and has an ambitious mission. Decades of Mars research from previous spacecraft have shown the planet not only had water in the ancient past, but had environments that could have supported life.
Mars is our neighboring planet and in many ways the most similar to us, and certainly in its history. And the question whether ancient life was there is still the question that keeps us up at night.
Mars 2020 has 2 new objectives: to specifically seek the signs of life, and then sample materials and prepare a cache that could be returned to Earth by a future mission.
Mars 2020 is really the essential first part of a sample return mission. So it actually looks at the environment of these samples and then collects them and stores them. Afterwards, we will, of course, go and bring these samples back. So Mars 2020 is the first act of a return trip.
The Mars 2020 mission, to the maximum extent possible, follows the Mars Science Laboratory Curiosity mission. We're going to use very similar rocket, very similar cruise stage, very similar entry, descent, and landing. And the rover, when you step back, will look almost identical.
Not only were a lot of designs already developed for the most part, but we're also using a lot of spare hardware that we had from MSL or Curiosity for Mars 2020. If you know where to look on Lab, you can walk around and see a lot of the EDL hardware and the cruise stage hardware that's already been developed.
This is really important for understanding why this mission makes sense. We have to do relatively little in the way of new development. This saves money, it saves risk, it saves time. It's the right way to pursue this kind of mission. Mars 2020 also features new technologies for entry, descent, and landing, allowing it to target a smaller landing zone and even divert from known risks in the area.
It means that we can both go to places that are maybe more interesting to the scientists because we're able to handle places with more hazards, as well as land closer to the things that they're interested in off the bat. So we get to the science that they care about and more quickly.
The 3 key sites that we are considering right now share one thing in common. They are all environments that might have been habitable in the very distant past. One of them is the floor of an ancient lake. Another is a hot spring. And the third one is a site where hot water interacted with rocks in the shallow subsurface. We have instruments on board which are expressly designed to seek evidence of ancient life, called biosignatures. And we have the capability to prepare samples, drill them out of a rock, seal them in a tube, so the future mission could go and bring them up. We call that caching.
So it is a first of a new type of mission which is to bring samples back to the best labs we have, which are here on Earth. Mars 2020 is a pivotal mission in our search for life that could finally answer the age-old question, are we alone?
Everybody see that? Great. So I will preface this next group of slides by saying that I am certainly not a rover expert. So I am giving you the non-expert overview of rovers and Mars 2020 rover. And certainly, if you have specific questions, you can ask them, and we will get in touch with the folks at NASA to get those answers. And we encourage you to check out the Mars 2020 rover site. That also has a lot of great information. We were hoping that someone from NASA would be able to join today, but I think they got held up in meetings. So again, this is the non-NASA scientist overview of rovers. And if you have specific questions, we will try to get them answered and have some other resources available for you. I'll say we're going to show you a few different videos, and I think that the videos are great opportunities as educators to introduce the topic to your students, if age appropriate. So we will have a couple of videos, but again, just going to go kind of quickly through the rover and this specific rover. Some of this is, they talked about on the video we just watched, but it is part of NASA's Mars Exploration Program, which is a long-term effort of robotic exploration of the red planet. It addresses the high-priority science goals for Mars exploration, including key questions about the potential for life on Mars. And not only are they seeking signs of habitable conditions on Mars in the ancient past, but also searching for signs of past microbial life. And this mission introduces a drill, as they stated in the video, that's going to collect samples of rocks and set them aside in this cache system, and so that a future mission could potentially return those samples to Earth. And there are 4 science objectives that support the Mission to Mars Exploration Program, and they are looking for habitability, seeking biosignatures, caching samples, and preparing for humans. So just some quick facts that this rover weighs more than 2,300 pounds. And again, it's searching for past microbial life. It's collecting samples that could be returned to Earth. And it's paving the way for human exploration of the red planet. So just a quick history of past Mars rovers. So the first rover was Pathfinder and the Sojourner rovers, and they launched in December of 1996. So again, I'm not the expert here, so I think what's interesting as I'm learning more about this is about the different ways that they've created for the rovers to actually land. So this rover had an airbag encased lander. Let's see if I have any other notes about that. So let's see what the next, so Spirit and Opportunity were the next 2 rovers that went up. These also had airbag encased rovers. I will say that these rovers were planned to have 90-day missions, but they've lasted 20 times longer than planned. Opportunity was more than a decade longer, and it just ended its mission in February of this year. Curiosity was launched in 2011. They found chemical and mineral evidence of past habitable environments on Mars, and it continues to explore the rock record from a time when Mars could have been home to microbial life. So this is a little information about the the landing system. So Curiosity used a new landing method where the spacecraft descended on a parachute, and then during the final seconds before landing, the landing system fired rockets to allow it to hover, while a tether lowered Curiosity to the surface, and the rover landed on its wheels. The tether was cut, and the landing system flew off to land a safe distance away. So we have a nameless rover in 2020 that's scheduled to launch in July of next year. So we want you to help, and your students, to help us name this rover. All right, so this has, the 2020 rover has a new landing system, which is shown here. And we do now know, I know in the video it talked about 3 potential landing sites. They have decided that it will land in the Jezero crater next year. So all very exciting, very cool, very interesting. Again, this is my very non-NASA scientist explanation. So we wanted to share with you some educational resources that were curated by Future Engineers and Battelle to use as resources for your challenge. There is a really great NASA mission to Mars unit that has 22 activities in it, but there are lessons on astrobiology and so many other different topics related specifically to this mission that are on the Future Engineers website. And it looks like there is a very cool Ask NASA Mars Rove E, where you can type in a question about Mars and that the rover will answer. And that's on NASA's Mission to Mars website. So I'm going to talk just really briefly about an activity that you could use as educators, either formal or informal educators, to sort of launch your lesson around, if you're going to do a lesson or a unit around this mission and around the naming contest. And it's called NASA Touchdown. And we actually did this activity at the NSTA STEM Forum in July with a bunch of educators, and they really enjoyed it. So it's a really fun activity just to get your kids thinking about the landing system. And while we know that there is a specific landing system for the 2020 rover, it's just a fun activity to get your kids thinking about landing system and how to protect the things inside the rover. And so, and this activity is on the website. It is the first link under lessons on the Future Engineers website. So essentially what you're doing is having your students use the engineering design process to build a shock absorbing system out of paper, straws, and mini marshmallows. And then they're going to test that landing system by dropping them from 5 to 8 feet. And then use the results to evaluate and redesign their landing system. And so again, these pictures are from our workshop at the NSTA STEM Forum in July. And here's just some more information about the activity. You can only use the materials provided. The marshmallows that are in the rover have to stay in the rover when it lands. And nothing can block the marshmallows from coming out. So there's some really great, so this is, we've given you the whole lesson here in a few slides, but you can also find it on the Future Engineers website again. It's the first activity under the resources. But there are lots of things you can do to modify this for older kids or younger kids. You can change the types of materials you want. You can give them more time or less time to complete it. You could even try to have it fall or drop from a taller height than 8 feet. So lots of ways that you can make this activity applicable to whatever setting you're in and whatever age group of kids you're working with. So again, here's where you'll find this on the Future Engineers Contest website. And we're going to do another quick video. These are, so NASA, the Jet Propulsion Lab has lots of these Mars in a Minute videos. So we're going to show you one, again, that you can use in your classrooms.
How do you get to Mars? If you want to send a spacecraft all the way to Mars, first you'll need a fast rocket to escape the pull of Earth's gravity. The heavier your spacecraft, the more powerful your rocket needs to be to lift off. Next, make sure you launch at the right time. Mars and Earth orbit the Sun at different speeds and distances. Sometimes they're really far apart, and other times they come closer together. About every 2 years, the two planets are in perfect positions to get to Mars with the least amount of rocket fuel. That's important. The total trip is over 300 million miles. Finally, make sure your aim is right. You can't shoot for where Mars is at launch time. You have to aim for where it will be when you get there. It's a lot like how a quarterback passes a football. Also, you may need a few thrusts to correct your direction along the way so you don't miss Mars. If all goes well, you'll get to the red planet in about 7 or 8 months. Then, if you actually want to land on Mars, well, that's a whole other challenge.
So again, NASA has a lot of these great, fun Mars in a Minute videos, and I'm experiencing some technical difficulties right now. There's no screen. Oh, here we go. Hold on. We practice and practice and still get, all right. Folks can see? Okay, great. Also on the Future Engineers Contest website is a great place for kids and teachers and informal educators, formal educators around brainstorming and designing. And so we really focus on using that engineering design process. So really getting kids to think about their idea, about what their potential landing device is, and then trying it out and going back and fixing it and communicating about what worked and what didn't work. And so there are some really great support and some really great resources here for kids to brainstorm their ideas. Quickly, we're going to talk about some contest details and dates and such, and we've talked about who's eligible. Again, no team entries, individual entries only. And again, grade bands of K4, 5, 8, and 9 to 12. The contest launched August 28th. Entries are due November 1st. We will announce semifinalists on January 9th. And so semifinalists, there will be one semifinalist from each state/territory in each of the grade bands. And those will be announced on January 9th. So that's 153, I think, semifinalists announced on January 9th. Then there will be a total of 9 finalists announced on January 20th. And the finalists will go through an interview with some folks at NASA, and the winner will be announced on February 18th. Pretty quick turnaround there. And just if you're interested, the judging criteria is the same for each of the grade categories. So the bulk of the judging criteria will be around the appropriateness and significance of the name. The originality of the name will be 30 points. The originality and quality of the essay and or finalist interview presentation will be 30 points. And then there will be, for the 9 finalists, we will do an online public poll where the winner there will receive an additional 5 points. So there will also be prizes. The grand prize winner. So the name that is chosen, that student obviously will get to name the rover, which is super exciting. And they will also, their family will receive an invite from NASA to attend the launch. And our partner at Amazon Web Services will provide a trip for the family to actually attend the launch at the Kennedy Space Center in July of 2020. So very exciting. Also, there will be some prizes for the semifinalists, and they will get a Mars prize pack from NASA. And again, that's a total of 156 semifinalists. So one winner from each state in each grade band will receive a Mars prize pack. And the, the three finalists, again, one from each of the grade, the 9 finalists will receive, in addition to the Mars prize pack, an Amazon STEM ebook prize pack and Amazon Web Services Educate membership. So some cool and exciting prizes, in addition to the awesome prize of getting to name the rover. I'm sad that my kid's not going to be able to even get in there. So Tanya is actually going to take over here, and she's going to review formal educator classroom registration and student registration, and talk a little bit about how informal educators can be involved in registration for them. So Tanya, do you want to take it away?
Sure, sounds great. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to talk to you guys. That was wonderful. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit about our challenge as well about the history of the rover. I'm going to dive right into how to register if you are a formal K-12 teacher and how to get your students to register. Now we're going to talk a little bit about informal, what to do if you're an informal teacher as well after I go through registration. So in order to register, you can go directly to the website listed above, www.futureengineers.org/nametherover. And there are actually 3 locations on our site that will kind of put you right into the registration screen. So the first one is in the upper right-hand corner there, and it says login or sign up. You can click there, and that will take you to the registration screen. Also, below the description of the challenge, and right below the launch video, so you can see that all of the resources are there for you right on that same challenge page. There's a button that says Student and Teacher Sign Up. So I invite you, if you haven't registered yet, I invite you to register as I'm going through this. It might be an easy way to get yourself into the system. And if you already have, great. And if you are actually watching this later, you could probably fast forward this part. So you can click on that button as well that says Student and Teacher Sign Up. Now keep in mind that if students are going to be registering on their own, they can register in these same 3 places. There's also another spot, and it's the How to Enter section. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this as well. Make sure that you guys are reviewing the challenge rules with your students before they actually do the challenge and submit. There's some really important information there on that challenge rules button. There's also an FAQ as well. So in that How to Enter box on the very bottom, you'll see another red button, Student and Teacher Sign Up, and they can actually, you and your students can click there to take you to registration. So yeah, so we should go to the next slide. Now, if you are on NASA's page, that's not a problem. NASA's page will actually take you directly to the Future Engineers page, and all you have to do is there's a nice big blue button there that says Register for the Contest. Once you click that button, that will then kick you to the Future Engineers contest page where you guys can all get registered.
Tanya, I'll also add for everybody on the call that Rob has put this registration link or a link to Future Engineer site in the chat box. So if folks want to join along as we're going through the registration, there's an easy link for them in the chat box.
Great. Thank you so much, Rob. That's super helpful. Yeah, you can just go ahead and click that link and get yourselves registered right now. So once you actually select one of those places where I told you you can actually get to registration from, those 3 locations, it'll bring you to our registration screens. And just to also let you know, if you are registered, those 3 buttons or spots are also the same places where you can actually log in once you have registered. So that's helpful too, that there's 3 locations there. So once you get to the first screen, you want to actually click sign up, and then that will actually have you select whether you're a teacher or a student. So you'll be selecting teacher. And then this will start taking you through the registration screen. Let's get started is where you're going to put your personal information. You're going to choose a username and the password. Make sure you write those down so you can remember them when you log back in. Put your email address, phone number, and then you'll be moving on to the Find Your School screen. This screen is actually where you're going to be selecting your school. Now, if you start typing in your school, we will have a drop-down there. So we do have a database of schools. Be sure to type in the full name of your school. For example, if you're, JFK, you want to actually type in the full name to make sure to see if you can find yourselves in our drop-down. If your school is not on our master list, no problem. You can just go ahead and click Add Your School to our master list, and you can enter your school information there, and you'll be added to our list. Great. Then you'll have the option to add a class. So this particular screen here is optional. You can always do this later once you get access to your student dashboard. But if you want to go ahead and add your class at this point, you can. So what this means is if you are, a 5th grade teacher, you can go ahead and type in 5th grade class, and you can select your grade. And that's actually going to add your class to your teacher dashboard. You can also add the challenge. Now, currently we do have the Name the Rover challenge available, so that will be available for you to select, but you can always skip this part. Now, if you have, 3, 4, 5 classes, you can add 1 class while you're registering if you'd like to, and then later on you can go back into your dashboard and add the rest of your classes. So we're not limited to 1 class here. Great. This should take you to our terms and conditions, and so be sure to review the terms of service, official rules, and privacy policy. Once you agree to all of those, you're going to click on that box there, and that'll help basically pretty much almost complete your registration. Once you click that box, an email will be sent to your email inbox, and if you have created a class, you can sort of see under questions contact your class code is. There is a class code that is generated each time you create a class. And that code, you can write it down at this point, but you can also find it in your dashboard. Now, that is an important code that you'll need when you're actually going to be having your students register. If you want them to link to your classroom, that's the code that you would give them before they register. And we're going to get into that a little bit more later, but don't worry if you miss that. It's pretty small. If you miss that, and you can always log into your dashboard and find it again in your dashboard, and I'll show you where that is. So once this happens, the last step here is confirming your email. And an email will be sent to your inbox. Open that up, click confirm, and then you're ready to go. Next is logging in. I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about logging in and what your teacher dashboard is actually going to do for you. It's got a lot of functionality, and it's really great. So you're going to just go ahead and log back in to our website, and that'll take you to your teacher dashboard. Great. Ooh, I love the teacher dashboard. So our teacher dashboard has a lot of different options for you here. This is basically what it looks like, and you can see that I ended up adding a 5th grade science class. Now, if you wanted to add more classes, you can see that Add Class button there underneath your classes. You could add more classes if you have them. And also, I wanted to point out where the class code is. So right now I've selected my 5th grade science class. And you can see under that is that class code, MIRP3E. That is what you want to give to your students before they go ahead and log in and register. And what that will do, you can sort of see here, that'll actually link them to your class page. And you can see that below in the Student Center. The Student Center can do many, many things. You can actually register your kids you can actually register for your students. So if you go to number 1, Link Students, you can click that Create Link Student Accounts, and you can add your students to your class yourself. And we'll get into that a little bit later. I'm going to actually skip us back to Edit Account. So you can also edit your account under your name in the upper left-hand corner. You can sort of see where it says Edit Account. Great. It'll take you to your Update Profile page. And so this is where you can change your password. You can update your email preferences. If you end up moving to another school, you can change your school here as well. And you can also update any information that has changed in this particular page. Great. Okay, back to adding your students. So there are a couple ways to do this, and I'm just going to talk about one of the ways through your dashboard. So you can actually create Link Student accounts through your dashboard, and all you have to do is click that button right there that says Create Link Student Accounts, and that will actually draw up the screen that says Add Your Students. Now, a couple things here. You'll be entering your student information, and you will be selecting a username and password for them. So if you do this route, make sure you write those usernames and passwords down, because we definitely don't want to forget them. And you can also give those to your students. You can add as many students as you need. So if you have 30 students, you can actually add them all right here and register for them. Now, also in the Student Center, if you look back to Manage Parent Consent, this is another place where you can actually help get your kids the parent consent that they need. And so the ways that you can do that is you can resend an email to their parent that will send them a parental consent email. And a preview of that is under See Email Preview. If you want to print out forms and have them get consent that way, this is where you would do that. You would just click on Print Parent Form, print those forms out, hand them out, have your students take them home and have their parents sign them. And then you have a couple options. You have the option of uploading them directly through your teacher dashboard, or you can also mail them to us. So those are 2 options there. Once your student is linked to you, you can actually help them submit. So through your dashboard, you can see there's a little button there that says Submit Entry. As soon as they're linked to you, you have the ability to help submit for them. That's exactly right there. There's also a button to get back to the challenge page if you need to do that as well. So there's a lot going on in this teacher dashboard. It gives you a lot of options, and it's really, really helpful to help you monitor your students and also help get them to submit for this incredible challenge. Okay, I'm taking you back to another. I'm showing you here how you can sort of monitor your student progress. So you can see here that when a student actually gets parental consent and they're linked to you, it shows you right there in the parental approval status. That first student, you can see it says parent approved. So that just means that they got their parental consent, which is great. If you actually want to upload a form, these buttons are pretty small, the email, upload, and mail in. All you have to do is click the upload button, that little circle under upload. So student number 2 is actually going to do a paper form. So if you click that little upload button, it'll actually draw up the upload form button, that red one, and when you click that, you'll be able to sort of upload their signed form directly to your dashboard, and then they'll have parent approval. And then if you look at the very bottom, there's that student, the number 6, is going to mail their form in. So if mailing is a better option, it gives you the address there of where you want to mail that form in. Great, excellent. Now we're going to talk a little bit about student registration. I know that we just went through teacher registration, but there's other options here. So there are 3 ways a student can register. The first way is that a student can register on their own using that class code I mentioned to link to a teacher's class. So if you give them that code, they can then go through the registration process themselves, and then they will pop up on your dashboard. So you don't have to actually basically register for them. They can do it themselves if you give them that class code. It saves a lot of time, right? Especially if they're old enough to do that. The second way is that students can register on their own with no class code, not linked to a teacher. So if a student is not linked to a teacher, or they're, maybe they're a homeschool student, or they're just doing this on their own, they can just register on their own without a code. That's another way. And then the third way we talked about a little bit in depth already, it's when the teacher can register for the student through the dashboard, which is kind of what I showed you. So this automatically links them. Make sure to save those username and passwords to give out to your students later. Those are the 3 ways. Great. So we're going to kind of go through what a student goes through when they're registering. They're going to go to one of those same 3 spots I mentioned earlier, but then instead of clicking on teacher, they're going to click on student. So then they're actually going to get this screen here, and this is what I mentioned earlier, is that if they have a class code, this is where they're going to input that class code, and that's going to automatically link them to the teacher. If they don't, and they're going to sign up as an individual, they would just select no class code. Great. And then again, we're just kind of reiterating, the third method is for you as a teacher to register them through your dashboard. And I'm not going to go, we kind of went into this detail already. And this is just kind of an example of what the student dashboard looks like. So once they actually register, their dashboard looks very similar to the teacher dashboard. It's going to show the challenges that they are signed up for with their teacher. Well, as if they clicked on personal challenges, there may be other challenges open that they sign up for, and those they will also see in their student dashboard. So we're going to talk about submission in a little bit, but this is where they would actually submit their entry if they could submit once they actually log into their dashboard. And there's another way to submit, but we'll get to that. Here we go, submission. There are 2 ways student entries can be submitted. Students can log in and submit through their dashboard, or the teacher, if the student is linked to a teacher, the teacher can log in and submit for the student through the teacher dashboard in that student center there. Awesome. So this is actually an example of where the teacher can actually submit for the student. You can see there your students are listed there, and all you have to do is click on the Submit Entry button for the student you'd like to submit for. Once you actually submit, each submission will be reviewed by our staff, and the submissions will either be approved or rejected. Hopefully more of them will be approved, but we basically review them in detail to make sure that they're actually compliant with the challenge rules and whatnot. So as soon as we review them, we will notify the student if their entry is accepted or rejected. And these will also, it will show up in their dashboard. They will get an email. If the teacher wants to get an email, they can get an email as well. And also, it will show up in the teacher dashboard as well. So you will be able to see which of your student entries are approved or rejected. And here it is showing up in your in the teacher dashboard. This is what it's going to look like. So you can see that first picture is of an entry, a student's entry that has been approved, and the second one is a student entry that has been rejected. Now, before we move on to the next slide, I want to also let you guys know that entries can be edited at any time. So entries can be edited at any time by the teacher or the student, and you can see that Edit Entry button, right? So if they're rejected, all they have to do is edit their entry and resubmit. And if they're approved and they're like, oh man, I really wanted to add this or this couple sentences in my essay, or oh, I wanted to change this, and they had sort of an afterthought, they can definitely edit that entry up until when the challenge closes. Now keep in mind, if they're going to edit their entry gets back in line for approval or rejection. So we will take another look at it. Every time they edit that entry, we're going to take another look at it to approve or reject it. Oh, I already skipped ahead. This is great. So yeah, just like I said before, editing entries, they can be edited through the student dashboard, as you can see on that top picture, or in the teacher dashboard under Edit Entry. They can be edited either way. The teacher can help or the student can if they're linked. Great. Okay, so we also, for instance,
it's Deanne here. I'm going to chime in real quick. I'm like a ghost voice over here. I just want to add that the entry approval process is mainly for student safety. So it's really important that your students don't put their first and last name in an entry because the entries will be going once the contest closes in a public gallery. So just make sure that those entries are anonymous, and that's really what the approval and rejection process is about, to just protect.
So that's absolutely right, and that's a great point. So the actual the entries, once the challenge closes and the entries have been accepted or rejected, all the accepted ones will go into a public gallery. So it's extremely important that you guys take a look at those challenge rules and you make sure that their names are not in their entry, and there's a list of really important things that they need to take into consideration there. Because their entry will get posted in a public gallery once the actual contest is closed, and they'll be able to view that. Let's go back to the worksheet. Great. So for informal educators, meaning if you're teaching after school, if you're in at a library, if you're at a museum, we actually have an informal educator worksheet that you can print out, and that will be available in the next couple days on our website, where you can just basically print this out, give it to the students, and they can use this to write their entry and then go ahead and take it to our website and submit. So this will definitely be available to you guys very soon. Great. And we are also still accepting volunteer judges. So currently right now, we are still looking for volunteers to judge. We are accepting applications to judge the contest on our website. And if you are interested in judging, you must be 18 years of age and a U.S. resident. The commitment is about 5 hours to judge 50 to 100 entries. And you can go, and how to actually sign up for this is on our main page, right underneath the launch video to the right of where the student and teacher sign up is. And you just click there. And if you're interested in judging, it's all blind judging. And if you're a teacher, we would definitely you would not get any entries in your geographical location. It would be blind, and we would be giving you entries from somewhere else. So you still, even if your students are participating, you're still welcome to judge. Great. Now we're going to take any questions that you guys might have, and I'll kick it back to Rob and
Yeah, so
let them know how to do that.
I think you answered one of the big ones, which was coming from Cindy Thompson, who asked if a school could participate even if she wanted to judge, and I think I'm understanding you here that the answer to that is affirmatively yes. Great. Okay. No, I think that settles all the questions I have online so far, but I'm reading your chat window closely, folks, so it's typing.
Yeah, and we should also add that George Tehu just joined. Hi, George. I think he's muted. But we have a very VIP from NASA who just joined. So if you have any questions about the rover itself as well, he's on until for 8 more minutes as well.
Yes, and I know that there was another question that came about the videos, because I know we showed that really cool video, the Mars in a Minute video, and I just wanted to, I don't know if you guys read the chat thread, the videos are available on the Future Engineers website under Dive Into This Challenge, so you just have to scroll down and you'll see the educator resources there links to all of the websites and lessons. And then if you just scroll a little bit further down, you'll actually see all the really cool videos down there.
And we're going to show another cool video, the launch video. And while we're showing it, if you have questions, you can go ahead and type them, and we'll do a quick check before we close out.
What I really want to try to achieve here is to make Mars seem possible. Make it seem as though it's something that we can do.
Elon Musk finally told.
I think that is not the right video. Let's see. I'm going to just go to the Future Engineers site and pull it up.
We're going to do a live demo of how you find videos on the Future Engineers site.
And you can see our
Hey kids, NASA needs your help. We are getting ready to send our newest rover to Mars. It's going to look for signs of ancient life and help us get ready to send astronauts someday. The only problem? It doesn't have a name yet. What would you name the rover?
I have no idea.
No idea. Got to come up with something good for this one.
All of NASA's robot explorers have their own missions, personalities, and names that fit them and tell their stories. We can't wait to hear your ideas and read your essays to name the rover. Hey kids, NASA needs your help.
We are getting it over here. Okay. Any more questions? None?
That's a good sign. I mean,
Sure.
they know what to do. We're really, really excited for all these entries.
Yep. So thank you, everyone, for joining. We will share a recording of the webinar with everyone who registered, as well as we'll be putting it up on the website. So you can probably come back in a day or two, and the recording of the webinar should be available. So thank you to everyone for joining. And again, as Tanya said, we are super excited about this, and we can't wait for everyone, all the students, to submit their entries, and we get to start reading them to find out who is going to name the next rover. So thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.